Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jordan, one of the co-owners of Analog Stick Gaming. And to my right, as always, we have the founder himself, Jeff. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. Day off from work. Work tomorrow, and then I got a 3-day weekend because of all the holiday stuff this week. So
Lovely,
a
lovely.
lot of gaming to do.
Well, I'm glad you're doing well because I genuinely thought I was going to die this week. So, yeah, the reason we haven't had a podcast in a little while was Jeff was actually ill on one of our recording days, and then I have been extremely ill to the point where this is the worst illness I think I've ever had. like I thought I was getting better at some point after about 3 days.
Was it the Madden curse?
And then I weirdly got worse again. It was just like, no. Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely, there was one day when we were supposed to record and I couldn't breathe. And then for days after that, I was literally in bed sleeping and I lost track of time because I was sleeping so much. It was. I mean, the sleep was nice. Don't get me wrong, but
I think you didn't have tickets to Clash in Paris or anything.
No, yeah. I mean, although I blame Coldplay because I went to a Coldplay concert with my partner last week, and it was the day after I got back from that. That was when I started to feel rough. So
that sounds about right. Coldplay is a plague, so that does make sense.
Yeah. Yes. However,
we just prove it.
However, we have both been playing some very interesting things, which we'll get to in a minute. But this, obviously, because of my illness and the fact that I'm still recovering, will probably be a somewhat shorter episode. So I do apologize for that. And if you see me randomly cough, I also apologize for that. It's what happens when you have an illness if you don't know.
Gamers we're only human.
But yes, we've been playing some games. There's been some interesting news as well. So we've got a few news pieces, but not as many as we would normally cover. However, Jeff, you mentioned Clash in Paris just now, and I feel like as wrestling fans, we need to talk about certain things that happened on this show, and what they could mean going forward. Because this was an interesting one. This was an interesting show, especially for CM Punk. But we can get to that.
Yeah, I'll say Clash in Paris is probably the weakest PLE I think they've had this year.
I agree.
The Sheamus and what's his name? Rusev match. That felt like something that just could have been on SmackDown. The same thing with the tag fight. That was only in the PLE because of the Borderlands promotional stuff that was there. So that felt like it could have just been on Raw or SmackDown. And then the other, the Becky Lynch match, that felt like it just could have been on Raw or SmackDown. It didn't really have that pull. So you're kind of left with the Roman Reigns match that again felt like a main event for Raw.
Yeah, it felt like a good main event for Raw, is how I would put it.
And it had a weird delay at the end where they were trying to bring in Braun Breaker and he was signing the shoes and all that stuff, and then he gets hit, and then it's just that whole the end of how an end of Raw generally happens. So it was a very weird lull going into the next match.
Yeah,
but the John Cena and Logan Paul match was good, and then the main event was good as well, with Becky Lynch sneaking in there and becoming the next the fifth man essentially, right? Because that is their whole thing.
The funny thing is, any wrestling fan, as soon as they saw Becky Lynch, you know exactly where this is heading because they have to now, right?
And then on Raw, when she came out to his music and stuff, that was one of the best promos I think WWE has had all year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it's definitely set up to bring AJ Lee back. Uh,
Yeah.
because I mean, guess who's training with CM Punk literally right now?
Yeah.
AJ Lee
And and
posted
it
on
it
her
doesn't
Instagram that
make
he's training.
sense. Like, if they have it be anybody else,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a massive disappointment.
Yeah, it's it's AJ Lee, because like even in the post show they're like, well, Punk has a wife too, and
Yeah.
then like what's her name is like, what, AJ Lee? Do you think AJ Lee's coming back? It's like, come on, people, it's like
Yeah.
you are telegraphing it so fucking hard.
And I get it because that is a huge return. That's almost like the female equivalent of a CM Punk return to wrestling.
Yeah,
Like, it genuinely is, because she left well before her time as
and
well. Like, she could have carried on for so long.
and for the WrestlePalooza match, she will pin Becky for the win. You
Yeah.
will not have Punk pin Seth.
No.
So
No.
it'll be AJ Lee getting the pin over
And
Becky
and
Lynch,
also
or
because
she gets it over Seth.
especially if there's conversations about AJ maybe doing some more stuff in the future rather than this one kind of tag match situation.
Yeah,
You know, and there definitely should be those conversations, because I highly expect that she will still be very good in the ring. Yes, she hasn't been in the ring properly in a long time.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, as Punk and many others before have proven, you don't lose it. You just need to kind of, sometimes it takes a little while to find it again, but you don't actually lose it. Like, it's always there, and most of wrestling is actually ring psychology most of the time.
yeah,
And as long as you can nail that stuff, you're good to go. Like, John Cena is one of the best ever, and he basically does 5 moves. Yeah.
yeah.
Like, the reason he's good is because he has good ring psychology. He's good on the
And
mic.
ruthless aggression.
He had ruthless aggression. Yeah, it's. I mean, I do have to give a shout out to John Cena, because I know that, like, they blatantly just did the random change on his heel turn because the heel turn wasn't working.
Yeah,
And I also think that the reason the heel turn wasn't working is because whatever original plan they had for it was something that they weren't able to do,
hey,
clearly.
now I thought this, and
Yeah.
so did the guys from Wrestle Talk. I want to know if you thought this. When he went down and saw that one kid, he's like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then went and kissed his wife. I thought it was the kid's mom. And so did the Wrestle Talk guys. They're like, yeah,
Oh,
did he start like making out with his mom? It's like, that's the ultimate heel turn right there.
I mean,
Like,
I
that's a more
don't know.
natural heel turn than what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird because I didn't have. Right, so let's take a tangent for a minute on John Cena while we're on the subject. I didn't have a problem with the initial heel turn. I actually thought it was very good initially. The issue was, one, you involved Travis Scott, who never needed to be involved in anything ever, and should be gone, right? And hopefully is now from everything we hear.
Yeah.
But you also have the problem where you involved The Rock, which made sense for what you were doing at the time, but The Rock has literally been gone ever since.
Yeah.
And he seemingly, because of his weight loss recently, is probably going to be gone for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, what was the point? Because you would have known this ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's, and I just think that the combination of the Travis Scott stuff not working how they thought it would, and The Rock not being available, left them in a situation where they can't do with John Cena's heel turn what they originally intended to do.
Yeah.
And I think
It's
they had
such
to.
a weird weird thing because like The Rock sets up the selling your soul thing, but then doesn't follow through, and then he claims
Yeah,
like, "Oh, you didn't need me for the rest of the story." And like, no, you did. Like, you literally set that up.
yeah,
That's like,
yeah.
it's so stupid. It is unbelievably
He
stupid.
was literally the most pivotal point on the biggest heel turn of all time,
Yeah.
and then he disappeared.
Yeah.
like, like it made no sense whatsoever. So Cena turning back to face was the right choice.
Yeah.
How they did it wasn't very good, I'll be honest. Like, oh, it was basically Cody talked him into like, why
Yeah.
couldn't Cody do that before? It just kind of it made no logical sense, the reason for him turning back into a face. I think there are other ways that they could have done it.
Just knocked him out real
Um,
hard, and then he wakes up, and it's still old Cena, and he's like, "Wait, heel turn? What are you talking about?"
hell, have him literally turn into Peacemaker.
Right.
Like, it's like, yeah. But what I will say is he's been going in so hard on Logan Paul that it's been hilarious to watch. Like it's some of Cena's best work. And we still have the weird Brock Lesnar thing that is gonna happen at some point. Like,
Well, it's going to be WrestlePalooza.
yeah, you would assume so, but it's weird because again, they brought him out, they had him do the one bit, and then it's like, where have you been? It's almost like I
Well, they
don't
have,
I don't know. Sometimes they just do weird things.
yeah, they probably just have like limited dates with him at the
Yeah,
moment or something,
true.
and
I
yeah,
did find it interesting that Cena, I believe it was in the post show, was talking about how he's only got 8 dates left and he's not actually got enough dates left to wrestle all of the people that he would have liked to wrestle.
yeah.
Um, which I think is a shame. But it also almost makes me think that are they going to find a way to wiggle out of this and kind of extend Cena's run slightly?
Well, yeah, during the post show, they did slip up that apparently like January was going to be his final match, and then they ended up correcting themselves. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Plus,
it's gonna.
it would suck for his final match to be like commercial.
Yeah, yeah, it really would. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm at the moment the CM Punk thing has my most attention, is what I would say,
Yeah,
and I think that was the best, most interesting thing coming out of Clash in Paris as well.
yeah. It was a disappointing PLE for sure.
Yeah,
Few
for
good
sure, for
matches.
sure.
And every
How?
single match almost pretty much had like the bad guy winning for a large chunk of the match, and then the good guy coming back just at the end. Like that was
Yeah,
pretty much all of it.
it was
And then
very paint by numbers,
yeah,
cookie cutter type
Becky
of show.
botched that the placement of the kick for Nikki.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were so many botches in that match. To be fair,
Yeah,
that was just, yeah. I don't know. It was weird. It was very weird. But do you know what also was a bit weird this week?
nobody.
We got some news about a Microsoft game that was recently cancelled. Perfect Dark, obviously, that was being developed by Crystal Dynamics, and it sounds like maybe they were trying to find a way to continue development on that game.
Yeah, so our news today comes from VGC, so definitely check them out for the full stories. Take Two was reportedly in discussions to save Xbox's canceled Perfect Dark reboot, but negotiations recently collapsed over details of a potential deal. That's according to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who reports that the collapse of talks reports that the collapse of talks between Microsoft, Take Two, and Crystal Dynamics owner Embracer resulted in an unspecified numbers of layoffs at Crystal Dynamics last month. Crystal Dynamics was co-developing Perfect Dark alongside California-based The Initiative before the game was canceled in July, and its developer closed as part of a sweeping layoff across Microsoft. A remake of the classic spy shooter from developer Rare, was announced in 2020 and featured in last summer's Xbox showcase. According to Bloomberg sources, Take-Two was in discussion with Microsoft and Embracer to fund and publish the game, but the deal collapsed in part because the companies were unable to come to terms over long-term ownership of the Perfect Dark franchise.
Yeah.
Representatives for Embracer, Xbox, and Take-Two all declined to comment. Like, here's the thing that I don't understand. Like, you don't have to give them the Perfect Dark franchise.
I know, but that's exactly why I think it fell apart. So here's my thought on it. My thought is that Take-Two probably wanted ownership over the franchise if they were going to.
Yeah, I mean, did Microsoft cancel this game to reboot it, and then that's what they're working on?
Potentially, because so what I've heard, and I can't remember exactly where this came from, but it was one of the games media members who posts on social media quite a lot was replying to one of the VGC posts and basically said that this game needed about an extra $80 to $90 million of funding to get finished off. So it basically probably was another 2 years away, something like that, right?
Mm.
From an Xbox perspective, if that number is true, I now have more understanding as to why they would have cancelled the game. Because $80 to $90 million is a lot of money that you can actually spend on redoing the entire game and you know, potentially getting a better game as a result. They may not have been happy with what they were seeing. They may not have all of these things, right? And my thing is, Xbox own the IP and they can go back to it at any time they like.
Yeah.
Even if Take-Two came in and said, look, we will fund the remaining part of development and we'll publish the game, so we'll take the pressure off of you. And even if they said we'll still allow you to have it on Game Pass and all of that, the second they go, but we want to own the IP and everything in future with it, why would Microsoft do that? Yeah. Why would you give up an IP that, yes, okay, is dormant, but is still known? Especially when it's a game that you have mostly developed yourself, for a company to then go and take the credit and potentially reap all this. Like, if this game had come out and it was a massive success, it would have rebooted the entire franchise. And if Microsoft would have been like, oh yeah, hey Take-Two, yeah, you can buy. And maybe they were willing to sell the Perfect Dark IP, right? We have heard of companies selling IPs before, but maybe the number just wasn't right. Because at the end of the day, what they need to think about is like, okay, yeah, if we're going to sell you this IP, we need to think, what is the potential value of it long term, not just what is the value of it now. And I think that's what people don't understand. So it's like, this is why, for example, when PlayStation purchased Insomniac for $300 million back in the day, everybody was shocked, because in IP value alone, their studio had like a lot of value. You know, it's a weird thing where the IP is the most valuable thing, because staff and studios and everything else can be replaced. And so I'm not surprised that this whole thing fell apart on IP ownership. Yeah. I do like the fact that clearly Microsoft were willing to allow someone to come in and finish this game.
Yeah.
you know? So it wasn't like, so I think it almost puts a different perspective on them cancelling the game, because it almost wasn't a cancellation in some ways. It was almost like we are not going to pay for this anymore, but if you can find someone else to pay for the rest of it, then feel free. That essentially is what happened, right? And unfortunately, because of corporate things and IP ownership meaning so much, it hasn't come off, and that is a shame. But I do, like I said, I think it gives me a different perspective on all the news recently. I think, however, the one thing people are most overlooking with this news, and the most important part, is it sounds like, because Crystal Dynamics failed to secure investment to finish this game off, that is basically the reason that there were lots of layoffs at Crystal Dynamics from the Embracer Group recently, right? Like,
Yeah, and that's got to hurt the relationship between Crystal Dynamics and Microsoft like greatly.
yeah, you would assume so. Because I genuinely, and I think we both did, I genuinely thought Crystal Dynamics would be a Microsoft studio at some point. I thought that was going to happen. I thought this Perfect Dark game would come out, and then they'd be like, and then like a year later, 6 months later, they'd be like, oh yeah, we've purchased Crystal Dynamics from Embracer Group. And I still think, we've seen Eidos Montreal, obviously, they worked on Grounded 2 with Obsidian, and they are also helping out on the upcoming Fable game.
Yeah.
I still think there's a chance that they end up being part of Microsoft Studios in the future. But them, as a current compatriot of Crystal Dynamics, will now be looking at this situation and going, but what if you decide to pull the plug on Grounded 2 because it hasn't done well enough or something,
Yeah.
Which is like, to be clear, on Grounded 2, Eidos were not just a support studio. They were actually one of the main developers of this game. Like,
and it makes sense considering like how much, like, because you get that team's also working, or that studio's also working on like Outer Worlds 2, and then they were also working on like other games as well too. So
yeah, so actually, like, and yes, on Fable they're in more of a supportive role from our understanding.
yeah,
But the point is, the reason that they probably even got the opportunity to work on Grounded 2 in the first place was probably because of their work on Fable, because they were working on Fable before they were working on Grounded 2.
Take-Two should be like, hey, okay, how about Contraband? Can we have that?
Yeah, like, it's really interesting, right? Because it proves that IP is really the driving force of the industry now.
Yeah.
IP is the driving force of the industry, and it's no longer, unfortunately, it's no longer creative people. Like, none of these companies care about the people. They want the IP. And the thing about having the IP is you can revisit it at any time, right? So, like, from a Microsoft perspective, like I said, why would they sell the IP? Why would they give up the IP in a situation where that IP is just about to be rebooted? And they're better off letting the IP die off again and keeping it in their back pocket and revisiting it in the future if they feel that they need to, right? And that is a sucky thing to say, but it's the world that we live in. And we've seen, so Konami recently, right? We've seen Konami getting back into video games, but they're being very clever right now because what they're doing is they're almost like assessing the landscape because they're remaking what they know are some of their most popular releases ever, right? So it's almost impossible for those games to fail. Like, they would really have to mess them up badly for them to fail.
Yeah, it's like almost like what Sega's doing with their like revitalization project of like things like Shinobi,
Yeah.
and then they have that stuff coming out.
And I think that for Konami, it makes sense because I think that they probably realized several years ago that they pulled away from AAA games when they shouldn't have. They pulled away at the wrong time. But I also think that they know that in pulling away and in the circumstances around Metal Gear Solid 5, which was their last real AAA release before these recent remakes and things, I think they know that they hurt their reputation with the gaming audience significantly. And for them, I think what they've been doing is leaning on their well-known and trusted IP to go, let's assess the landscape. Let's see if people are willing to let us back into their gaming hearts, and let's see if people still have interest in these IPs, right? Like, we've got another Silent Hill game coming up very soon.
And it's really interesting that, like, you know, they really, obviously Silent Hill is the one that kind of kickstarted it, but then jumping into like Metal Gear, which is the whole reason that people hate them.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was interesting, but I also think that that's why Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a much safer reimagining than Silent Hill 2, right? Silent Hill 2, they actually let Bloober do some things quite differently, and Bloober did handle that stuff very well. Let's be honest.
It's interesting. There's not too many games that kind of raise the stock of both the publisher and the studio.
Yeah. So Bloober handled that amazingly, and they've got Cronos coming out very soon, which I will talk about later if you're seeing the headline of this episode. But then they do Metal Gear, and they know that Metal Gear and their relationship with Kojima is what hurt their stock in the first place, right? So what they do is they remake or they upgrade, let's say, because I don't think I call it out in my review. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is not just a remaster, but it also doesn't go as far as a remake, right? And what I would say in that regard is they did the right thing because they played it safe, because they knew if we change something from this Kojima game that everybody like most for most Metal Gear Solid fans, it's basically one of three games is your favorite in the franchise, and it's either Snake Eater, Metal Gear Solid 2, or Peace Walker in most cases, right? And most of the time, because not everybody's played Peace Walker, they go for either Snake Eater or Metal Gear Solid 2. My argument has always been for Snake Eater because I think that it's the closest to Metal Gear Solid 5 in terms of gameplay, and yet it has the storytelling chops of the earlier Metal Gear Solid
Could you see them doing
games.
a Peace Walker remake using this engine and this visuals?
I think they should. I really think they should, and I think actually there's a strong argument that they should remake every Metal Gear Solid game in this exact way that they've done, where you don't change the story, yes, you make quality of life
Okay,
changes to the gameplay.
let's say they're
Go on.
doing the Resident Evil thing. Remake, original game, remake, original game.
I think that them doing an original Metal Gear game without Kojima is always going to be a really hard sell. I'm not saying they can't do
Yeah.
it, but the one Metal Gear game they've ever tried to do without Kojima
Okay, but that was a
was Metal
spin-off.
Gear. It was,
Yeah,
and
because
I
that wasn't even.
appreciate that,
Yeah,
and I'll let that one go in that regard, right? And I do think clearly they've learned since then. Like if we take Silent Hill as the example, we've got, is it Silent Hill F coming up in a few weeks?
yeah.
The previews for that have been brilliant. Like people are really excited about that game. And if they can do that for Metal Gear, that will be amazing, right? But I just think there will be a lot more apprehension about their ability to do it with Metal Gear because Kojima has a certain style of storytelling and way of storytelling within video games that I haven't ever seen anyone else really replicate,
Yeah, but
other than maybe Sam Lake from Remedy. He gets the closest.
so when you take a look at like Metal Gear and Death Stranding, a lot of people are like, okay, it's way too convoluted, it's way whatever.
Yeah.
What if someone comes along and makes a Metal Gear game that's way more streamlined, way more easier to follow, and then that suddenly becomes an entry point for a lot of fans going, I could never get into Metal Gear before because the story was so fucked up and weird.
Yeah.
I got into
Yeah.
this.
Do you know what's funny though? I actually do agree with you on that. I think that's a good idea. What I find quite interesting is them remaking Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater into Delta Snake Eater has almost actually done that for people. Like, I've seen a lot of people playing this game for the first time, and I've seen so many reactions on social media of, oh, now I actually understand the Metal Gear Solid story a lot more because Snake Eater is the starting point of the entire story.
Yeah.
And I've always argued that the reason the Metal Gear story is as confusing as it is because it didn't release chronologically, right? So because it
Yeah.
didn't release chronologically, I think it confused people more than it needed to. Like for example, the only games that are set before Metal Gear Solid 5 in the Metal Gear timeline are Snake Eater and what do you call it that we were talking about just now? The
Delta?
portable game. The
Oh,
portable game. Peace Walker, yeah. So only Snake Eater and obviously Delta Snake Eater now being the remake and Peace Walker are set before Metal Gear Solid 5, and yet Metal Gear Solid 5 was the last mainline AAA brand new entry in the series. Like, so I think it confuses people because the timeline doesn't. I think when you're doing that for movies, it's more understandable because people go, okay, this is a prequel, and I can accept that this is a prequel, and because I'm not playing it, I don't get confused, right? With a game, I think that you almost have to release things chronologically for people to actually fully understand the storytelling. Maybe I'm wrong, but do you have any other examples where there's a game franchise that hasn't released chronologically in terms of its storytelling?
Madden. No. No, I'm not. I mean, because like you get, because like I mean, you get like the Trails games, but they've always released chronologically. But I mean, you also had
Yeah.
the remakes of the Crossbell Saga get released after the Trails games, which kind of took place there. And then you got the remake of First Chapter that's coming out as well too.
Yes, yeah.
So I mean, like, there's a little bit of that there, but games generally, like, you'll get like spin-offs and stuff that'll take place earlier. Things, like Doom: The Dark Age takes place
But
before
it's usually very clear that, oh, this is a spin-off, right? And therefore
Yeah, I
that
mean, like Doom:
it's
The Dark Age. I mean, that takes
yeah,
place before 2016.
that's true. That's true. That's true. But yeah, I just think it's interesting. But yes, in terms of Konami themselves, I would like to see them attempt a new Metal Gear, because I actually went back to Metal Gear Solid 5 the other day after playing Delta Snake Eater, and I
I still haven't
still
beaten
think
5.
I still think in terms of gameplay, regardless of my personal issues with Metal Gear Solid 5, because the story, because of circumstances around the development, the story of that game definitely feels a bit unfinished. However, in terms of gameplay, I still think even 11 years after release, it's probably the best stealth action gameplay ever in a video game.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it's that good, and it still holds up today. So I would like to see them try and make a new Metal Gear Solid game with that style of gameplay, but with a more complete story and more complete storytelling. Because I do think there's, as I said in my review for Snake Eater, there is space for this type of game because we don't get enough stealth action video games anymore. So, here's hoping we get some more. Maybe if you're watching this later today, you might have seen the Sony State of Play with IO's 007 game that's coming up. Maybe that will fill the void. But who knows? I thought that Perfect Dark was gonna fill the void. But it is what it is. it's it's how it goes. We'll see what happens. I feel really sorry for Crystal that they haven't been able to find investment to continue Perfect Dark, because I know from personal experience how much it sucks to spend years of your life working on something to then have it ripped away from you and not be able to have anything to show for it in the end, right? So I hope that all of those people who lost their jobs recently find their feet in the industry, because that team is genuinely an amazing team of developers. And I hope that the people that are left there have great success on whatever their next project is going to be. But for now, we have some more news to carry on with, Jeff. So what do we have next on the news this week?
So, Monster Hunter Wild sales have been hindered by the high price of the PlayStation 5, apparently, according to Capcom's president. In an interview with Nikkei, which was held in May but published on this site this weekend, Haruhito Jumoto was asked about the release of Monster Hunter Wilds and its initial sales of 10 million units in its first month of release. He said, Capcom's president says the goal of 10 million units in the first month was an internal one Capcom. So in that respect, the sales were on track. But he also noted that continuing to build on these sales could be trickier given the price of buying the current gen hardware. Replying to a question about having to build on that initial 10 million, he replied, this is via machine translation, that's correct. However, we also found that the barrier to the PS5 are unexpectedly large. The console costs around 80,000 yen, which is 540 USD. Factoring in the cost of software and monthly subscriptions, it comes out to around 100,000 yen, or about 675 USD at the time of purchase. This is not an easily affordable price, especially for younger generations. The situation is not limited to Japan, but is similar overseas. Our next challenge is to overcome these barriers and get Monster Hunter Wilds to more people. Sales and other events will begin in the future, so we are currently developing a strategy to take advantage of these opportunities to boost sales throughout the year. There's definitely more to this story. You can definitely check it out at VGC. It was written by Chris Scullion, so check it out. It is a very, very good read. So like this is, and console prices are not exactly getting cheaper because like the tariffs have essentially like resulted in everybody's prices fluctuating.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like I know that they are planning on getting Monster Hunter Wilds running on Switch 2 hardware, or hopefully, because we'll see how that goes.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
and I mean that's also one of the stories we're going to be coving up here in a little bit as well. But yeah, like it's kind of interesting that they hit 10 million. That's fantastic. Most games never ever even come close to that.
No, you
Yeah,
like
building
most
on it though.
games would literally bite your hands off to have that number.
Square
You
Enix
know?
would kill people for that, literally.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's interesting because I think that they probably have a point as well. Like they probably have a point that the higher price of consoles this generation, and in especially the PS5 being the more kind of widely accepted ecosystem, let's say, um with their prices being so high because they position themselves as a premium product and all these kind of things, they probably are to some extent hurting the sales of some video games, because there are people that will want to play these video games that just straight up cannot afford to upgrade to the newer consoles, right?
Yeah.
So they probably have a point in terms of the PS5 price affecting the viability of their game and how many they can sell and all that kind of thing. And I want to take a second while we're on this story to talk about pricing of consoles, because I've seen a lot of reports and rumors recently that the next gen, because obviously we're heading towards next gen at this point. We know that,
Oddly
right?
enough, yeah.
It's we're heading towards next gen at this point, where probably we're going to be sat here in 2 years with at least one of the next gen consoles, if not both. You know, um, and what I've been hearing, at least from the initial reports and rumors, is that the expectation is the next Xbox will be somewhere in the region of 600 to 700 US dollars, and the next PlayStation could be as high as sort of $850. And it's like,
And
if
that creates an even bigger barrier.
yeah, and that's my concern. I think that these companies, if they're planning on this pricing, need to have a think about how that pricing affects the industry as a whole.
Yeah, because like if you take a look at like the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 3 came out at like 650 Canadian.
Which was ridiculous back then.
The cost on that system was $900. The cost of manufacturing that system was $900.
Yeah. So, yeah, and don't get me wrong, I get it that most of the time on a console, at least for Xbox and PlayStation, at the initial launch, they will be losing money because it costs more to manufacture than they sell it for. I get that. I completely get that, and that's absolutely fine. However, I don't think we can have another generation where 5 years into the generation, we've actually got prices going up, not down. Like right
this is
now,
like the first generation of consoles where like the prices after a couple of years haven't significantly dropped down.
yeah, you should, like right now, if this was any other generation, you would be able to very often get one of these consoles at like $150 off or something. You know,
Yeah, like these consoles right now should be 400 US.
Yeah, they should. Quite frankly, that's what they should be. You know, and yeah, I get it. World circumstances have made a difference this generation. They definitely have, and I think that people from the outside, I think that because of people's frustration with the price, they overlook that at times. And I think the reality is we had a global pandemic which impacted prices of things. We've then had in the US tariffs which are impacting prices of things in North America. We've then had different global factors and economies affecting prices of things. There's a lot of reasons that this generation hasn't gone the way that other generations have gone. But I just think that there's banter, lovely. I just think that these companies need to be aware and need to almost take heed of these Capcom comments that if they price their devices too highly, there's a genuine danger that they could do significant damage to the industry as a whole.
Yeah. And the thing about the thing about it is previous consoles and stuff like that used to sell well below cost because they could make that up on software. But the problem is with software taking 6, 7, or 8 years to actually manufacture, they don't have enough software to kind of make that up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, there needs to be some sort of readjustment or at least an upfront thing of like, or like another way for people to purchase these things, right? So something I actually think that Microsoft got right this generation was they allowed you, if you needed to, they allowed you to pay for your console monthly, right? Which is something people could more easily afford. I think it was also in an interest-free way.
Well, like other ways and stuff like that too is that they could make like decorative consoles.
Yeah.
Because like then people would buy multiple consoles or even like fancier controllers. Because like I just bought like the new, what is it, like
greenish, nice
greenish blue kind of controller and stuff, because my other one was getting drift, and like every time I would aim in Mafia, it was like flying down sight. And I'm like, oh my god,
that's funny. But yeah, I think there needs to be some sort of readjustment, and I like that. I actually like that Capcom have come out and said, do you know what? These console prices are affecting, because they're right. I know, like, I'm not even an expert, but I've got enough experience in the industry and as a gamer and consumer of these products that I know that the higher console prices are absolutely 100% affecting sales of video games, because I know people that have not upgraded to the next generation 5 years into the generation simply because they can't afford to do so.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, it really is crazy. And then on the other hand, we've got the Nintendo Switch 2, which is apparently selling so many units that they're not prioritizing developers and developers' needs to actually make video games for the system.
Yeah, like that's the dumbest thing here, and we'll jump right into this because this doesn't make any fucking sense. Developers are still struggling to get a hold of Nintendo Switch 2 development kits well after launch, according to new reports. In the latest edition of Digital Foundry's DF Direct Weekly podcast, hosts John and Oliver reported that they both have been told by numerous developers that they were still unable to get hold of development kits to make Switch 2 games. According to Linneman, some developers were instead being told to make games for the original Switch for now, instead of specifically working on Switch 2 only titles. There has been a lot of talk about this lately, that Nintendo seems to be almost discouraging Switch 2 development to some degree. He said, I've spoken with several developers who were told me that their game, should they ship it on Switch 1, and rely on backwards compatibility. So, like, again, check out the story, read more on it. Chris Scullion, again, reporting on some pretty crucial news here. Because the Switch 2 right now is being criticized for not having a lot of Switch 2 exclusive games. And you're getting a lot of very, very small teams that have development kits. And then bigger games, which would be guaranteed blockbusters on the console, don't have development kits. That's stupid. Like there's a campfire game out right now. They have a development kit. And the only reason I think that they have it is because they're utilizing the camera as a way to help sell the peripheral. They have a development kit. But other big major developers that are trying to put big blockbuster games on Switch 2 don't, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
Like
it really is. It's a significant
like
problem.
and how are you even supposed to make a game for Switch 1? Do you just downgrade the whole freaking game? Like, do you put Cronos on the Switch 1? You
Yeah,
can't.
I know, right? Yeah,
Even
it's
with
weird.
backwards compatibility, you can't. Because you
It's
have to
so
release
weird.
it on the eShop as a Switch 1 game. You can't just go, oh, it's a Switch 2 game through backwards compatibility. You have to
Yeah,
label it as a Switch 1 game. So there's no way you're going to put Echoes at the end. There's no way you're going to put, Metal Gear Solid Delta or,
yeah,
or it's
you're
it's
correct.
so fucked up.
It's crazy. It's really
Like
crazy.
development kits should be super easy to get, and it's like Nintendo not releasing them because they fear that one of these kits is going to get in the hands of pirates and they're going to have the Switch 1 problem all over again.
And also, but that's gonna happen eventually anyway. Because what are they expecting to do? Like, oh yeah, let's never release these dev kits, and then you're gonna fall into the problem that you've always had, where you're gonna have good early momentum for support, and then developers are gonna go, okay, we're not supporting your system anymore.
Yeah.
It's really silly because they've had good momentum in terms of support for the system. So why are they not allowing the developers who want to support the system to do it? It's crazy. It's it's a thing of, you know, Nintendo kind of just really like playing their cards too close to their chest again.
Yeah. Like it's
Oh.
because when the Switch 1 came out, development kits were everywhere. Like
Yes.
everybody, like well, I
Yeah.
mean, it took about 6 months, but developers basically had like everybody who wanted a development kit could pretty much get one. And like I'm playing games right now that are on the Switch 2 that are played, to a point where they're very similar to the Switch 1. They just have backwards compatibility kind of leading the charge there. Like it's not an actual Switch 2 version. Or even like I was going to get code for a particular game. I'm like, hey, does it run on the Switch 2? And they're like, well, we don't have a dev kit, so you can't review it on the Switch 2.
Wow.
So
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Just give me a second because I am writing a very important email
sure thing.
uh, as
But
pertains to
yeah,
our.
it's very weird because like a lot of big games are going to be coming out before the end of the year, and getting a Switch 2 version into the hands of a lot of those people is going to be very crucial. Even if optimization isn't exactly perfect for a lot of big games, because I know Elden Ring apparently runs rather poorly. I'd be interesting to see the how the Star Wars Outlaws runs, because I know that there's news information out there. Or even how like something like Borderlands, which was touted as a Switch 2 title as well too, will even run there. Like it'd be interesting to see kind of how the hardware actually does kind of increase over the Switch 1, like how much of an actual leap it is. And I don't think we'll see that really until Monolith Soft releases like their next big game, because they've always been the pioneer of like how good a Switch game can actually look. Or even if we get like another Mario title and then it's like some big elaborate platformer that just couldn't be done on the Switch 1. So that'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, Jordan, we want to start running into kind of what we've been playing here.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you go first? I will get
Sure.
some gameplay up to support what you've been
Well, I'll
playing.
talk about one that you don't have gameplay of first.
Okay, go
Just
on.
kind of give you some time there. So I've been playing the 1.0 release of. I just want to get the exact title because I never remember it. It's Jotun Slayer Hordes of Hell. So we took a look at the game on early access before.
Mm-hmm.
This was back when it only had a few levels, it only had a few characters, it didn't have all the gods. So this version is basically going to be coming out on consoles. So I believe it's available pretty much everywhere. I don't know if there's a Switch or Switch 2 release. Could be a development kit issue for all we know.
Yeah,
But
could be.
yeah, so I've been playing on Xbox, and it plays extremely well. This is basically like a Vampire Survivors type of game, but it looks like it is made with like Diablo 4 assets. Like it looks extremely high quality. It's really, really nice. Um, all the characters are available now, so you basically have like the berserker, you have like the dwarf, you've got like the ranger essentially, who has like these spiritual wolves and stuff. He's probably my favorite character so far. He's just got a lot of really neat moves. But basically what it is you go in, you collect coins, and those coins then transfer to skill points, and then you can then level up your main characters, you can level up their abilities, or you can level up the gods and their abilities. So if you really like a particular ability that one of the gods uses, you can upgrade that to make it a little bit more effective. But basically, you survive in a stage for like 10 minutes or so, you fight the boss, and then you move on to the next stage. I've completed everything except for the very last stage. I got to just before where I could essentially summon the boss, and I just got overwhelmed like crazy. But I was also testing the Valkyrie kind of character who's got wings and a spear. I was testing her pretty much off the bat of what her base level stuff, so I hadn't had a chance to upgrade her, but I've been working on upgrading the Ranger, which I think is called the Revenant. And yeah, it's really solid. Some of the new god abilities are very cool. They've added a whole bunch of new stuff to the game. The menus have been kind of all redone as well. It makes that far more enjoyable. It is a really enjoyable game. If you like that kind of Vampire Survivors game, like like it's not the type of thing where you're procting your own abilities. Those are happening on their own through a cooldown. So every single time the cooldown releases, it fires it off. You can kind of direct where you're facing and that kind of stuff. But you get these like little missions that you're tackling, which is like kill these guys or shut this thing down or destroy this certain item. And then you have to do it in a certain period of time. You have to collect these things. There's like the gold bat thing flying around that'll give you more gold if you kill it. There's chests and stuff that'll give you more abilities and stuff too. But every single time you level up, it allows you to pick an ability from one of two gods, and then those gods then will have 3 to 4 abilities that you're kind of picking from. You can banish certain ones if you're like, oh, I don't like this. I don't want to see this again when that god pops up. And then you pick, I think, like 5 abilities throughout the run. And then some of my favorite ones is like Thor has one where it fires off like a lightning charge in the form of an X, and then once you level that up to the largest amount, it just starts firing off like the different corners constantly. It never stops. So some of those abilities are just fantastic. Like this game is really fun. And I think people that maybe don't generally like Vampire Survivor games, but like the hack and slash Diablo games, I think will still get a kick out of this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's absolutely fun. I've really enjoyed playing the 1.0 release of it, seeing all the different bosses. Like again, I haven't seen the final boss yet. There's DLC for like different outfits to make everybody look different. You can use your gold and different currencies that you track down to unlock new skins and new weapons. A lot of stuff comes down to beating a level in a certain difficulty.
Yes.
But no, it has been really fun. It's a lot more fun than the early access release. Just with the new characters that they've added and new gods that they've added, that you can continue to progress and level up, because those upgrades remain constant through all of it, and you can upgrade things like being able to take more damage, or the damage that you do take is lessened, or how fast your dodge cooldown is, or how fast you even run. Because like a lot of characters, like the dodge is going to save your ass.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's fun. I've been having an absolutely great time with that game, and I should be updating the early access review at some point in the next day or two, likely today if I can. But a lot of my time has been playing. What is it? What am I looking at here?
What you're looking at is
Oh, okay.
our friends, the Outer Haven, are now on Metacritic.
Nice.
And before you go into what else you've been playing, I will talk about something I've been playing because it's our first new review on the website since being accepted to Metacritic over on Outer Haven. I've been reviewing for the Outer Haven Cronos the New Dawn, which I alluded to earlier because it's made by Bloober Team, the studio behind obviously Silent Hill 2 remake and games such as The Medium. And Cronos is, how can I describe it? It's a bit different for Bloober because it's less about exploration and a bit more about action compared
Nice.
to some of their other games.
I'll take it.
And it's very Dead Space.
Oh God, yeah, I'll take that.
But
Fucking okay.
but in the best way, and I describe it in the review. Please go and read it. I will link it below because I wrote this review while I was half dead, so it may not be my best work, but it's probably appropriate for a horror game. And what I would say is I describe it as, if you're a Dead Space fan, this is the successor you've been waiting for. This game gets right what Callisto Protocol failed at, and it also manages to make itself unique at the same time because they have their own little twists on things. I think that a lot of the level design and kind of systems are actually more reminiscent of a Resident Evil 2 than they are of a Dead Space. I unfortunately don't have gameplay to show you right now. However, what I can say is our good buddy Keith Mitchell, who's been on this podcast more times as a guest than anybody else, has recorded gameplay, which is over on the Outer Havens YouTube channel right now, that you can go and check out. I think he's got the first sort of 40 to 50 minutes of gameplay. Yeah, it's a very good game. Like, I'm very, very impressed, and I think that this is the first. I make a point in my review that a lot of Bloober Team's original IPs have been very mixed bag in terms of their reception. Right? They've had good things about them, but they've never quite been able to hit on what they've actually tried to do. With this, I think they almost nail it because the combat is. So I'll speak to you a bit about the combat. It's very firearm focused, but it's also done in a way where the level design means you're not just running and gunning. You're not just running through these places, shooting these enemies, which are called orphans in this world. Which are basically mutated human beings, okay? You're not just filling them full of bullets to kill them. And also, when you kill them, if you leave their corpse lying on the floor, they can be absorbed by other orphans who then make themselves bigger and stronger, right? So you have to destroy the corpses. There are several ways to do that. You can go and stomp on them, very similarly to our good friend Dead Space that we mentioned earlier. You can stomp on them. You can use this stomp in traversal as well to break through certain things and get to certain areas, so it has multiple uses. But you start off with a handgun that actually can also shift into a knuckle duster. So you have like a melee attack and a firearm attack at the same time. What is interesting is they give you a standard shot and a charged shot at the same time, right? So every weapon or weapon variant in this game has a standard shot and a charged shot. The standard shot is okay for kind of staggering enemies, slowing them down a little bit. Can be useful it can be useful when you kind of move around the world just to slow things down, give you a bit more space, right? But
Mhm.
your charged shot is where your damage really comes from. And to do a charged shot, you basically hold down the trigger and then release it when you want to fire. And what I found more interesting, however, is the game's use of the environment. So throughout the environment, you'll have kind of different exploding barrels that you can use, or different other items that you can shoot to cause explosions. And that will set any orphans in the vicinity, living or corpses, on fire. And if you set corpses on fire, it destroys them so that they can't then be absorbed by other orphans.
Okay.
And eventually you will gain access to basically a certain type of fuel that essentially gives you the ability to set a fire around a certain radius around you at the press of the left bumper. And that allows you to set on fire anyone within your radius, again, dead or alive. And when the enemies grab you, it actually allows you to get out of the grab. If you have the fuel on you and you haven't used it, you can use it to get away from their grab. So it's also a defensive tool.
It's almost like the defensive knife in Resident Evil.
Yeah. So they've really thought about kind of taking the best of all these other games and then putting their own spin on it, right? And making Cronos its own thing, because they still have some of the time manipulation stuff that they did with the medium. Some of that stuff's interesting because this game is based in a kind of retro futuristic version of Poland. So the setting is very interesting because it's like a post-apocalyptic world that is also futuristic at the same time. It's very it's very unique in that way, and it reminds me somewhat of Stalker, and it reminds me somewhat of other Bloober Team games in the past. But I think that, like I say, they've created something very unique, and this feels like the first original IP from them where they actually have had the confidence that they can achieve what they want to. Like, when they made the medium, it was very clear that they were trying to make a Silent Hill game, right?
Yeah.
It was very clear that, we want
it was almost
this
like their
to be
pitch.
Silent.
They're like, hey, let's make a really good pitch to Konami for doing
and it was clearly good enough because look where it led them.
Very good resume.
But then I think that after doing Silent Hill 2 Remake and having that be loved by players and critics alike, and having it be almost universally praised by everybody, I think has given them confidence, and they've now gone and made a completely different style of game for them, because I wouldn't have expected them to take on Dead Space and Resident Evil 2 and those kind of, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But that's essentially what they've done here, and I enjoy it just as much as those video games, which is saying something. So yeah, I have brilliant job, Bloober Team. There are the one thing people might not like in combat, which I forgot to mention, is there is no dodge, so you cannot dodge.
Okay.
But that's kind of intentional. And when you see the level design, you'll understand it, because you're supposed to use the level design to your advantage. You're supposed to kind of walk through the level and know, oh, okay, there's an exploding barrel there. And then when you see an enemy come up in front of you, herd him back. Herd him the way that you want him to go, around a certain post or around this or around that. and it's very clear that they've designed it in a way that you shouldn't need to dodge as long as you're paying attention to your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very well designed in that way, and I think that as much as having a dodge, some people would then enjoy the combat more. It's clear that it was designed without being able to dodge, and actually being able to dodge potentially would break the game in some ways, and it would break the gameplay, almost making it too easy. So I think they've made the right decision there. But I see here, Jeff, that you said you have some big news as I wrap this one up. What is the big news?
We can't put a YouTube video on here, can we?
I might be able to. Let me try. What is the big news?
I'm gonna send you the link here.
Okay, let me see if I can put the YouTube video on here. Give me a second while I just get it up and. Oh my god. Give me a second. I've just seen what it is. Right, there is probably a way for me to do this. Let me just see if I can figure it out now. Yes, I can. It's going to be weird. So yes. Right, I want to share this. Also share the audio. Right. Can you see?
I see Metal Eden right now.
Yeah. You'll see something else in a second. Come on. Show this, please. Right. So you can see this. You cannot see us, but right now, there we go. There we go. Right. So I'm going to go back over to this tab, and I'm going to mute it because of copyright things.
Yeah, and then full screen.
But full screen that. How does it look now? Does that look good?
Yeah, looks good. You need to play.
And then play. So tell us about this, Jeff.
Is it loading?
I believe so. Yeah. What is going on?
It's not showing any. Oh, there we are. So this is something that fans have wanted for a very long time for Marvel Rivals. So we are getting Angela, who previously was a Neil Gaiman character and was in Spawn. She moved to Marvel and became Thor's sister. So it'd be interesting to see how her gameplay kind of varies. But we're also getting a character in Daredevil that people have wanted in a very long time. And this trailer is absolutely sick. So it's I haven't checked to see what each class will be in regards to like where they're going to be like the team coverage. But like this is an absolutely well directed trailer. Angela is like just built.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, look at this. This is great.
Made her super muscular, and then like you get this like almost Chinese mythology kind of Daredevil with how his armor and stuff is done. And
yeah, I like that though. It makes it feel unique.
Yeah, but like Angela looks amazing. Like, oh my, if she's good, like that's to be someone that I'm essentially going to be maining, because Angela's one of my favorite characters. But yeah,
Nice,
so that's
nice.
the next season for Rivals. That's going to be starting on September 12th. So we've basically
So there we go.
There. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that news. And I guess we can move on to Metal Eden.
Yes, let's bring that up here as well.
I have been playing a lot of Metal Eden. I've beat the game. The review is up right now. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10.
This is my very early gameplay, so I apologize if it sucks. This was literally the first time I've ever played the game, and I recorded just before we did this episode.
So basically, it takes place in a world where essentially humanity has kind of gained immortality by essentially taking their consciousness and putting it in cybernetic bodies. And basically what it is that as Hyper Unit Asuka, you were tasked with going and retrieving a human colony that's on the surface to get their cores so that humanity can kind of live on. You need audio if you want a little bit.
Okay.
If you want to put just a little bit of audio. There we go. And so basically, this is like if Doom and Ghost Runner had a baby, but had a summer fling with Metroid, because Asuka is very like Samus coded in regards to like just kind of how she kind of operates, but also that she can turn into a spear ball and then roll around. That part is the only part of the game to me that does not feel fleshed out. It feels like it was added in there just simply to activate certain power nodes. And so to me, that is like the only part of the game for me that docked my score. Otherwise, this probably would have been a 10. If that had been fleshed out, um, this would have been amazing. But yeah, so it's got the gameplay of like Doom, essentially, where your guns are lethal in every capacity. It's super fast paced. You're spinning around and all this stuff. And I mentioned in my review, like you'll see like people in front of you, people to the left, people on the other side of the level, people behind you. You will, like shoot one guy, grab his core, throw the bullet, spin around, some guys, wall run, hit the guy for the shield, destroy him, turn around, kill the other guys that are at you, and that will be like 12 seconds. Like it feels like it's built for speed. I know a lot of people are hitting reviews that it's repetitive. It kind of is to a certain point, but the combat that you have is so satisfying that I don't care if
like
I'm
look
killing...
at that just there. Look at that just there. This genuinely blew my mind when this guy jumps at me, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's just like nothing left of him.
Yeah, it's like that pistol is super fun to use. It's a little bit of a slower rate of fire. You eventually get a shotgun. You get a assault rifle that essentially like depletes their energy, but doesn't really do much physical damage. There's an SMG. The last weapon is something that'll kind of allow people to kind of discover because it is an absolute riot to use. It's so fun. And it destroys shield and physical. Like you'll just fire it off at anything and it just melts them entirely.
I liked that you can you'll see it in a minute as well, that you can like pull out their cores
Yeah.
and like throw at them and stuff.
Yeah,
That
you
was
can
cool.
you pull out the cores and it operates like a grenade, or you can absorb it into your body and it boosts your health and eventually your shielding and eventually like other aspects of it. But Asuka can't die. Basically, if she fails in the mission, another body is basically just sent to continue the mission. So she has immortality through this system and stuff. And other characters do kind of reference it as well. Like right now, Nexus is talking to you, and he's kind of this sentient voice that's kind of in your head. And there's more to Nexus as you kind of play along. But then eventually you team up with someone named the Operator. And I mentioned in my review, it's like having like the penguin in Batman's ear when Batman's trying to do his missions.
Yes.
And he's working as a collaborative partner. Like they both want kind of the same things, but the Operator has his own motives for why he wants those things. And it's just, yeah, it's like the best parts of Ghost Runner and the best parts of Doom. Like I'll say this right now, like Doom, the Dark Ages has a lot more variety and a lot more kind of like what it's doing to kind of allow the player to have that variety. But I had more fun with this game than I have had with Doom 2016, with Doom Eternal, with Doom the Dark Ages, Ghost Runner 2. I've had more fun with this game.
Yeah.
Because it just takes everything that's so good about those games and it merges it all into one very confident package. Now, this is made by Rycon Games, who made Ruiner. For me, is in my top 5 games of all time. It's a 10 out of 10. It is one of the best games I've ever played. So I came into this review with a lot of bias. But at the same time, I can see the flaws that is in this game for sure. Like the rolling ball is just not well utilized.
But that's also why the game isn't a 10, right? Like,
yeah, there's also these towers that feel completely useless. Like they basically will hit you no matter where you're moving, and you have to shoot the little eye on the tower to like drop it, and then a cooldown appears above it, and then when it comes back up, it's back up again. I don't like the towers. I feel they're absolutely useless. And like it could use a little bit more variety, and I didn't mention this in the review because I just thought about it. The zipline sections could use a little bit more variety in regards to like what you're doing, because there's only like 2 examples I think where you're firing off energy bullets at these doors that move to be able to like have the zipline move around. and it only does that like once or twice. But yeah, the movement, like you're just about to learn the wall running here, and you will use the wall running like a lot. And
Yeah.
if you notice the bar that came up there, just to the left of the reticle there, that's your fuel gauge. And you can use the
Yes.
fuel gauge however you want. If you want to do a dash and a jump and then a dash dash jump, it doesn't matter. You're not your dash doesn't work on a cooldown. Your jump doesn't work on a cooldown. It just
As you
works off
see,
the
I
fuel.
die right there. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, it just works off the fuel. So you can kind of do whatever you want. And some bigger jumps will actually have fuel canisters in the air,
nice.
and that will
I have to
prolong.
see this death again because I'm pretty sure this guy didn't touch me, and I
Yeah.
just died before he even touched me. But maybe I'm crazy. Hey, look! You see that?
You couldn't.
He
Yeah, I
look-
don't know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe he was just looking at you funny.
Far side of the
Yeah,
universe.
maybe.
But,
But
so-
yeah, I like the what I would say for my part before you continue, Jeff, because I've only played that first little bit there, but I was genuinely really impressed. It was much quicker than I expected.
Yeah, it's super fast. I mean,
so
your
that's
character's
gonna
called
t-
a hyper unit. So.
Yeah, so that's going to take some adjustment for people that maybe are expecting something a little bit slower because I actually, and you've compared it to Doom, I would actually say it's a lot quicker than Doom.
Well, that's what the Ghost Runner comes into play, because Ghost Runner is
Yes.
a lot faster than Doom.
Yeah,
So, like Ghost Runner has the platforming and the wall bouncing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this one has just so much of that stuff, especially when you start
Yeah.
building on the skill trees that are there.
but what I will say is the shooting feels really good.
The shooting's amazing.
That actual shooting, which is the main, at least from what I'm seeing, the main part of your gameplay.
Yeah.
That feels like they've absolutely nailed it. So
It's
well
so
done to them.
finely tuned. Like every weapon feels like every bullet. You feel like almost every bullet has this amazing crunch to it.
Yes.
And like, yeah, you are eviscerating enemies into like blood and oil. They're just like boom. They're just
Yeah,
a mist.
yeah.
And it's fun. Like it's super fun. Like to me, it's everything I love about video games. It's not meant to be this deep game with a ton of variety and a ton of different gameplay modes. It's
meant
in
to
and
be
out.
fun, right?
Yeah, and
it's meant to be
it
fun.
nails the fun. And like the artwork for all of the mission objective things at the start is so good. It's the same team that made Runer. Again, Runer's got amazing art. If you ever get the chance to play Runer, it is the best like twin stick kind of like action shooter out there. It's so good, and the soundtrack's amazing. Yeah, Metal Eden is absolutely fantastic. It is one of those games that some people like. I've seen 6s, I've seen 7s, 8s, all that kind of stuff. For me, this was like almost a near perfect experience. Again, tiny little problems that kind of dropped my score a little bit, because that ball just it doesn't really do much. Unfortunately, you can attack with it and all that stuff, but there's no like rolling through like little tubes and all that kind of stuff. There's no like oh, the door's locked, I need to find a vent and go that kind of way. Like there's not really that kind of thing. And it could be that it maybe broke the pacing, I don't know. But yeah, the bosses, there's like 2 major bosses in this game, and they are absolutely awesome. Like they just do a lot to kind of play on the things, like you're using the zip line to run around like when the floor is lava and stuff, and then you're like dodging and shooting the one guy and breaking his shield so that you can kind of deal with his damage. And there's a lot of really neat weapons. It has the best sticky grenade launcher I've ever played in a game. And like this game is so good, like unbelievably good.
Good. I'm glad. I enjoy it. I will definitely be playing more of it. If I feel well enough at some point, I may even stream it on the channel. So we'll see about that.
It's not too long. Like I can see what my game length was here.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's not too bad. It gave the impression of not being an overly long game.
Well, did they get rid of the game pages?
I'm assuming they're in there somewhere.
No, I don't see it.
Oh, that's strange. But yeah, and I want to say, again, thank you to PR for sending us codes, which we always appreciate, and especially for sending me a code because I didn't review this game. It was sent so that we could capture footage here. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, like
And
look
like
at the
I said,
artwork in that game. Like all of the mission starts have this amazing.
as soon as I
artwork.
saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is like a comic book." Like that was, that was where my mind went.
It's so good.
There is one other thing that I've been playing actually before we finish off here.
Sure.
I picked up yesterday Hell is Us. I don't know if you I don't know if you know much about this.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back on whether or not I am getting code. It's one of those things where they just had a lot of limited codes for some reason.
Yeah, so that was the thing. So I had heard that it was very unlikely that I was getting a code. So I was like, do you know what? I've got a bit of spare credit right now. I'll pick up the game, and I've only
like
played.
Becky's interested in it as well, so we might like go halves on it or something like that.
And I've only played the first little bit of the game, but I'm genuinely in love with it so far. Like it has very minimal HUD. It has basically no direction, which you'll either love or hate. Your direction is through actually paying attention and actually reading clues and listening to what NPCs say to you. So, like, this isn't a game where... Do you know how sometimes you'll be playing a game, Jeff, and you'll go to speak to an NPC, but you're not really listening to what they're saying? Like, you're just kind of speaking to them because you have to, rather than speaking to them because they're giving you valuable information, right? This game isn't like that. This is one of those games where you genuinely have to pay attention to everything that everybody says, because you never know when they're going to tell you something, which is like, and it's true of main quests and it's true of side quests, and you never know when they are going to tell you where to go without actually telling you where to go. Yeah. So you need to kind of really pay attention when you're speaking to these people. It's a character action game, which, look, there's some Souls-like elements to it, I guess. Yeah. But in reality, Souls-like games are just character action games anyway, with certain systems in play. Yeah. So I would say that this is a character action game because, yes, it can be difficult, but it doesn't have the same difficulty of a Souls-like, at least early on. I think it's much more manageable than that. It's a melee-focused game, so most of the combat is melee-focused. You have a little drone, which I assume I'm going to be able to use to do things in combat eventually, but at the moment I haven't really played enough to know. But what I would say is something I noticed very quickly is enemies don't seem to respawn when you rest in the same way they would in a Souls-like game. Okay. So you'll get some enemies that reappear, but they might be in a slightly different position, right? And there might not be as many enemies as there were the first time you went through an area, or things like that. So, and that's why I say that I wouldn't really describe Hell is Us as a Souls-like game. I actually think it's just a character action game. And again, very, very Stalker 2 vibes about the world and the kind of characters you meet within it. It's very Eastern European feeling in its kind of architecture and design of the world. and then you get these very high-tech facilities that you kind of visit as well, and they look very different and weird, and yeah, I'm excited to play more of it. What I would say has impressed me so far is the game's kind of way of guiding you without actually guiding you, right?
Okay.
And it doesn't give you waypoints. It doesn't say to you, go here, do that. Like, it's not as simple as that. It's more like a Zelda game, if you will, where it will give you clues about where you need to go and how you need to get there, but it doesn't straight up tell you, oh, go over here. Like, you have to figure that stuff out for yourself, and that is stuff I really really like. I know that you say you want to save a game for the next episode, Jeff, but I don't agree with you. This is actually a game that I do want to talk about
Okay.
because
I didn't know if you had time or if you were, but
I'm good.
yeah.
I'm not quite flagging yet, but I know that you've been playing, and I'm literally installing on my PC right now. I know that you've been playing Helldivers 2 on Xbox. I've
Yes.
still yet to play Helldivers 2, even though I've owned it for a year, because
Yeah.
I had nobody to play it with. So tell me about this game, Jeff.
Yeah. So when you load the game up on Xbox, the PlayStation logos come up and all that kind of stuff. So that's always fun. No, this is like the Starship Troopers game that people wanted for years. And even though there is a Starship Troopers game that is similar, this game has just ate its lunch, pretty much. No, this is the first time I've ever had a chance to play it. I'm playing it with fellow reviewer on the site, Kelvin, as well as our friend Jonathan as well. And this game is super fun. There is like a comedy to the game as well too. Like, you will constantly kill your other teammates, even though you don't mean to. There's times where you'll throw a bomb and it'll just ricochet off a thing and then land at your feet, and you're like, oh shit, and then you just get killed with a napalm strike. There's just a lot of really fun things to it, and basically you fight three types of enemies. There's the Illuminate, there's the robots, I can't remember their name, and then the Terminids. And all three of them are essentially trying to attack Super Earth. So there's a map that shows like how close they've got to Super Earth. So you kind of have to work with the community to kind of like stop that invasion. And one thing that's really neat is you have a battle pass, but your battle pass is earned by medals, and those medals sometimes can be influenced by the community. So if there's like tasks that the community needs to do to earn those medals, you could turn the game on after 2 or 3 days of not being on, and suddenly have like a ton of medals to like work in to your battle pass. Like, I filled 2 pages based off of the medals that were earned when I wasn't playing. You can also earn super credits as you're playing. That's the real life currency. So there's a lot of like benefits to kind of like really exploring the maps, and you'll get maps that are like 10 to 12 minutes long, some that are like 40 minutes long, and there's just a lot of really really neat kind of like mechanics to the game that are really interesting. So you'll get like these abilities, they're called stratagems. And essentially what it is the stratagems need to be pulled down by doing a button combination. Now, I'm not a fan of the button combination sometimes because I'm accidentally pressing the wrong things, and I'm like partially dyslexic, so it kind of like messes with me a little bit. But yeah, like you can resurrect your people. You can bring in like 4 stratagems. You'll also get some that are like story based or like time limited, to kind of like you tease it. I like having the guard dog, which is like a little turret that basically is by you, but the amount of times I've been killed by my turret is a lot. You can't jump, but you can get a jump pack, but you can't use the jump pack and the turret at the same time, or the backpack turret. But there's a lot of really neat gameplay to it. Like, it's really fast paced. Shit can go sideways as you start increasing the difficulty. You'll start getting more monsters and more creatures, and it is one of the best multiplayer games I think I've ever played. Like it's even when you're playing with random people. Like we had one guy that joined us, Tactical Taco, who was so good at that game, and he was really fun. We had
What a name!
yeah, I know. And then there was another guy that we were playing with last night. Him and this other guy were carrying us through this one mission because we were playing on extreme difficulty, and we were just getting fucking owned. Um, and no, it is like because you're going in the caves and you can't use your stratagems because the stratagems can't launch from space because you're in the cave. So you're kind of surviving on kind of just luck alone. But no, it's extremely fun. It's very easy to get into. There's a kind of a lot to take in just because of like how certain things kind of operate. You'll eventually get like vehicles, and like one guy was walking around like a mech, straight out of Mech Warrior, pretty much, and like that was super fun. But yeah, if you have a chance to play this game, this is like an absolutely amazing multiplayer game. It's stupid cheap as well. I think it's like 50 Canadian. So it's not expensive at all. And
I mean, I'll definitely be playing it. Like I said, I'm installing it on my PC right now because I know that there is crossplay. So hopefully, we can find some time to play together, and you can show me how it all works and everything.
Yeah, no, it's
yeah.
so fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a bit of it. I've never played it myself, but it does look like just hilarious, stupid fun. So
yeah, that's definitely what it is, and it knows it's being funny and stupid. Like you'll read like the loading tips and stuff will say just stupid things basically that make no sense, but it is meant to be kind of just absolute dumb fun because again, like you can accidentally kill your teammates like constantly.
Yeah.
Like I came around the one corner or whatever, and Jonathan came around the one stop, and I just took a shot point blank to the head and died. And we just kept making jokes and stuff. There was one part where like we were about to take off, whatever, and I was going to throw the napalm grenade, whatever, and it hit the back of the Pelican and then bounced at the feet. I'm like, everybody come to the ship, come to the ship. What, ding, ding. Nobody come to the ship. Nobody come to the ship. And then they all dove in the ship, and then we took off.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, that has been a good episode of the show, I think. A little bit shorter than usual, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Please go and check out my Cronos review on the Outer Haven. As I said, it's our first new review on the Outer Haven since they were accepted to Metacritic, so I'm sure they would appreciate
check out the
support.
review by clicking on the Metacritic link, just in case they've got tracking, so that you can kind of show there. And who knows? Maybe at some point we will be on the old Metacritic. But until then, you can find us on OpenCritic as well.
Yes, well, we do seem to follow our good friends, the Outer Haven. Maybe we use a VPN to stalk them.
So essentially like we're the PlayStation to their Xbox, where they're making all the moves and the big features, and then PlayStation comes along and just essentially takes those features.
Yeah. But it's remember that you can also get NordVPN for all your VPN needs using our link below. We would appreciate it because if you do, it does directly support the site as we get a percentage of any signups through our link. So, if you need a VPN for your internet security or for watching certain programs and shows and other things, or as Stephanie McMahon would say, perhaps you want to use it to watch WWE.
Oh, they got so much shit from ESPN. Holy hell. So
you can do many things with it, but yes, we have NordVPN below. I will link my Cronos review at the Outer Haven below, and Jeff should also have reviews coming out of his ears, and one
Metal
of those
Eden
will be linked below.
Metal Eden is out. The latest reviews, let's bring it up here. So Metal Eden, I also reviewed Nightling, which is a game by Trollbound, which is it has its moments. I'll say that. We also have the Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar review, and then the Shinobi Art of Vengeance review.
Yes.
So definitely check that stuff out.
And coming up soon, I will be reviewing this year's Madden because we were lucky enough to be given code for that. I haven't had a chance to do it with my illness, but that will come up at some point soon.
Jotun
and I'm
Slayer review will be up probably today. I'm going to see.
Yeah.
I've got like the next 5 days off, so except for tomorrow.
Yeah, and then obviously, if you're seeing this after the Sony State of Play a little bit later, then what did you think of 007 First Light? Because we should be seeing some gameplay there. So let's have a discussion about the gameplay in the comments, and I'm sure we'll talk about that on our next episode, which we might even record this weekend, since this has been a bit of a shorter one. But for now, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Check out analogstickgaming.com for all your gaming news and review needs. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
See you guys.